looks pretty darn cool. I'm really hoping it is. There was that, what was that Starbow map? Python, I think. The remake of Python was a similar tile set to this.
Python was green in Brood War.
Okay, but I'm talking Starbow. That's why I said Starbow to start my reference.
Then why would they remake it with that color?
I don't know. But, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Team Liquid map making competition. This is, of course, game number 2 in a best of 3, and we got quite a few more to go through today. We will be casting both semifinals and the finals, bare minimum, so don't worry. If we do miss some of your favorite players, if they're good enough to get through, we will catch them later on down the line. But this is our first time seeing Echo together, so we'll take a quick tour of the map after introducing the players. And spawning here in the top left corner of the map, we have the red Zerg player, SortOf.
In the bottom right, as the blue Terran, its evil geniuses, XenoCider.
Alright, so quick, not one, but 2 zooms out. Let's see. Main base, pretty wide. I feel like there's just this template for all mains right now to be about this size. Yeah, before we actually go to the map specifics, Snoot had mentioned this, and I still haven't read Snoot's full opinions to you guys, but he did mention all these new maps. They seem very mid to medium sized maps. We don't have anything huge like Ultra Zeum or anything coming out so far.
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool to see this kind of going back from that trend of maps are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger every season. I kind of like the mid-sized ones best, but cool tile set aside, natural base, pretty tight. I think means and naturals are always going to be safe. It's the thirds that keep coming into question for all these maps.
But the third, when I saw it on the map like preview originally, I was like, oh, it looks like a hard thing to take. But actually playing it as a Zerg player, I was playing as EVT, it wasn't that bad. You know, the wall off with the Evo chambers kind of takes up the natural because it's not that big of a wall. In fact, it's a very small natural ramp for what we're used to.
Yeah.
That's I don't even know what that is. That's like 3 supply depots in a bunker, or not even. I don't know if you can fit a bunker.
Well, it's interesting because I guess this kind of it encourages expanding vertically instead of horizontally to begin with.
Yeah, you get a very like split map scenario when you're taking up your 4th and 5th pieces.
You know, just due to the dynamic of the terrain here in the middle of the map, I'd love to see this go split maps. Not quite like Heavy Rain, but kind of, again, the emphasis on this big split down the middle of the map like Heavy Rain was. Especially with the bases just hugging the outside of it. It could be really cool. This middle area, I just feel, though, this is like... What was that one Brood War? Bloodbath? Like, just don't fight here. Just don't fight here.
I don't remember, but yeah, that's what I was thinking when I first looked at this map. There's also a couple of different interesting rocks in this map. At first, I want to go, like, we talked about that Overlord positioning, and I was like, no, I think they intentionally put it there. And what's nice is that you can intentionally not put it there and screw Zerg out of that scout, or you can intentionally put it there and, you know, be nice to the Zerg. Yeah, nice little Reaper cliff right there. But for this map, there's actually not that great of a Overlord cliff. It doesn't see the front of the ramp at all. It just sees the back of the minerals and the gas geysers. Yeah,
but again, you kind of mentioned that before, where gas is going to be a very important thing to scout, especially if you're fighting somebody like Protoss or another Zerg player as DVZ.
Yeah.
But I was giggling not just at the Reaper cliff, but look at the way it's set up. It's like perfect. They're like a coronation ceremony or something. I mean, like you just walk down the red carpet to that Reaper cliff.
That's true. Oh, right, the rocks that I wanted to talk about. So, besides the rocks being kind of numerous in the middle of the map, looking kind of silly, there's also rocks that are in... Okay, how do I explain this? If you go to the would-be 4th below their 3rd for the Zerg player, and then even farther below that, there's rocks that are covered with, like,
What am I like? I don't know where I'm looking at.
Here, follow my vision, then.
Alright, one sec. I never have to do this. This is weird. Alright, I'm on your camera.
Okay, see these rocks?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so I had no idea these rocks were there, right?
Are they targetable?
Yeah, they are targetable. They can get destroyed. I don't think there's any destructible, like, collapsible. That's the word I'm looking for. I don't think there's any collapsible rocks. I'm not sure about the middle ones, though, because I never bothered breaking them down.
That's interesting. I can't actually click them just by having observer view.
I'm pretty sure
I mean, I believe you. I believe you. I'm just saying I can't click them.
Now I'm second-guessing myself. I can't... Oh, no.
Okay. The confidence is inspiring. I mean, it does provide for interesting ways to maintain a base if it does go to that huge split map scenario.
Yeah,
but
there's also rocks right below the 3rd, for instance. Like, there's
is that a
pretty
cooling tower? No, it's not. Never mind.
Yeah,
or is
it
it?
is. Yeah,
I can't click it. Is something going on? Maybe this is just my ops mode being broken.
Yeah, that's you. I can't. I can click on all these rocks and stuff.
Okay, well, I can click on it now that he's scouted for some reason. That's really weird. I've never had this particular bug opsing before. But okay, so is that a cooling tower then at the third?
Well, then yeah, I guess so. So then you can't break this down. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, with 500 health, that becomes the big wall off there. So that's actually a really secure threat. Wow, I'm liking Echo.
I liked Echo too. Like the only thing that I had worries about was that it was like this little odd, like natural to third. But actually playing the map, it's not that big of a space between it. So the queen should never really be all that far out of position.
Scout this so I can click it. Yeah, that is a cooling tower. Okay, cool. Yo, it's there's the cooling tower and Deadwing everyone always forgets about too, between the bases on the left and the right.
Yeah, so. I just aesthetic. There's also rocks right below where the Hellions are right now, so there really is only one direct pathway to the middle of the map. But then we start talking about the fourth, right? Where from Xeno he goes to the left and he starts acting up that ramp to the fourth. It's a little weird.
I'm wondering, do any of these other bases have the cooling towers outside of them? Or is it just the third? It looks like it's just the third. Okay, that's kind of interesting. I mean, I guess if you're someone like a Zerg player, especially in a ZVZ, you don't want Ling Run bys to get you off guard, right? So you put all your focus here between the two bases. You've got the cooling tower knocked down, and you've actually got this really sick early game in a ZVZ at least.
Pretty interesting. See, I like this map. There's something that we look at and we say, "Oh my god, that's so overpowered. Why did they put this in?" We're thinking, like, "Oh, it's interesting. Oh, that's weird."
Original iterations of Deadwing.
Yeah.
If you guys ever want to see, if you've ever been curious, like Zombie Grub, you know, sometimes she seems a little grumpy on the stream, but you want to hear what Zombie Grub's pure bliss sounds like, it's not the drunk cast. Go find the game of MMA versus Damaga. That was... I don't think XenoCider knows this is a cooling tower.
I don't think anyone is thinking about it yet. I
mean, that is a pretty big deal, not having to wall this off.
Is the question would be, is it only cover half the ramp or the whole ramp?
Oh, well, we're getting really hung up on the actual map here. We forgot to talk about the actual game, and we've got a really quick hive coming out of SortOf, who, again, this is really interesting.
It's not a hive. It's not a hive.
Oh, it's a layer. Pardon me. I'm retarded. I get so excited looking at that. But, okay, that wasn't even what I was getting hyped about. My hype for this was, we see him going to the +1/+1. He's going heavy on the Lings. You know, he got to 70 drones very quickly without XenoCider providing any harass. You know, there wasn't the 3 Reapers last time. There wasn't the Hellions. So he's actually gotten away with so much already that he can just make Lings after Lings after Lings after Banelings after more Lings. He may not need Mutalisks this time. Last game, I would argue he definitely did because the drops cut him off guard so hard. But he's just pure unit.
Most of these maps are also not that great for mutas, as in they're not Catalina. So that's something I really enjoyed looking at, you know, testing how far you can go behind the bases and still be healthy to the mutas. You can't at all on this map, I believe. Like, they'll just die.
Well, Banelings can't quite connect. But still, despite losing a lot of Lings, he's left with a whole handful left and still sitting on 65 drones. It's really not taking too much from this. I'm really curious to see, though, this map, we talk about mid-sized maps, it's still fairly large, I guess, when you look at it. XenoCider can't exactly rally across the map. Not like he could on a Dune Shrine. That's
something I like. That's why I think the, you know, SortOf was allowed to get away with so much droning, was that the Hellions, I mean, they personally didn't really do anything just because XenoCider didn't want to do anything, really, but... even if they did, it'd be hard. That natural ramp, just being so skinny as it is, I mean, the wall off is it's pretty easy.
I really want to see these cooling towers get knocked down, though. Someone actually brought something up in chat just now saying Rifkin, the cooling tower, probably only crashed over half the ramp, not the full one. And I'm curious if that's the case or not. Yeah, you guys would be surprised how far cooling tower rocks will go.
That's what I mentioned before. I do want to point out, like, really though, look at the top of the natural of SortOf, for instance, if nothing else is going on. You can't stick anything behind there. Like, I'm pretty sure I tested this, right? And like the Spore Crawler, if it was back a little bit more, like mutas wouldn't be able to stick back there, Medivacs wouldn't be able to.
Oh yeah, it's really tight, yeah.
Yeah, it even, like, looking at it, it might not look that tight, but it is. Like, the invisible barriers are pretty close.
Yeah, it's the north of the map. Actually, that's kind of interesting, too. We never had anyone really re-explore the merry-go-round, air barriers, I guess, however you want to call them. The things on merry-go-round that limited the airspace. I think it'd be kind of cool to see that come into effect. Like, let's say this middle part of the map actually had those barriers around it or something, right? But that's a gimmick and not part of a map. And we do have Mutalisks actually coming out this time, but sort of, man, he's on 4 bases. He's just got economy at the wazoo. He can take a really awful engagement versus XenoCider, quite frankly. And even then, there's just, oh my god, so many Baneleys he's just going to be able to throw into this.
Yeah, look at the alchemy positioning that you have as XenoCider. You know, when I first went on this map, I was like, this is going to be how Terran is going to attack the force. Kind of predicted this happening, but now looking at it, SortOf has 2 areas of attack. You know, he can pretty much... Oh, that's lucky.
That is so sick. Nice snipe.
Yeah, but he can surround XenoCider if XenoCider ever decides to really push the fourth, and that's pretty bad. You know what, I guess this might be where the rocks come into play. It sounds silly, but if he takes on the rocks now, at least that's farther away from the creep that he sort of has to surround him. I don't know if he'll actually try and do that, or if he knows they are breakable.
Oh, man. You know, a lot of times we start seeing Terran players, they throw buildings just, nice one, shots, outside of their natural, because it helps with some of the SimCity, and I just realized how good that's going to be on this map. Look at connecting the natural to the third, even.
Ooh.
Like, let's assume from the rock tower fully covers this, right? You could actually put your first couple Raxes out here if you're like doing a failed 2 Rax and fully wall off 3 bases. Can you imagine someone like Marine King, 3 CCs behind a 2 Rax, pulls back and has got a fully set up wall on 2 locations?
Man, I wish you could, like, you know, if one person's obviously going to die, just tell someone to break down those rocks.
Well, I don't think we have referee mode anyways, but...
I know.
Alright, gonna walk down the middle of the map. Widowmines, I don't know if these new maps give them a bit of a buff, but we've seen some really good Widowmine shots throughout today's set of maps. And this one's not been disappointing too much either. Sort of still, though, again, with that heavy economy, he's been able to replace this pretty easily. And 26 more links come out to quickly replace the ones that died. Mutos are trying to harass here in the natural. And I guess what's really nice about this one, too, the natural's got enough space that you could definitely fit turrets in here without being too detrimental. But I don't love that he's putting them hugging the cliff here, because sadly the high ground vision does also help prevent turrets from getting good Mutalisk shots.
Yeah, I didn't consider this, but that is a pretty good harass spot. The big problem right now is that I think XenoCider is going to hit a wall, where he's not sure how he's supposed to attack into a fourth. You know, Deadwing, Nimbus I was thinking of, but also Deadwing, sure. You know what fourth you want to go to. Overgrowth, you know that you want to get to that third, and that's your attack path. But here, he knows that he wants to attack to the left, and he keeps on trying, but then he realizes that if he goes further on to creep, if he goes down that ramp into that well, he gets surrounded. And he doesn't want to do that.
This is getting a little frustrating for XenoCider to deal with the mutas.
Yeah, that's like everyone's like root war frustration. I haven't really seen high ground do that. What's
really gross though, right? Okay, well, he doesn't repair the turret, and that sucks. I was gonna say what's really gross is this is all a lot of dead space. And we talk about this map maybe not being great for mutas around other locations, but there's no running behind these mutas with a handful of Marines. You can't cut them off with some blank stalkers. Like, the Mutalists have got so much free reign over your natural base, it's actually kind of ridiculous, but that's a lot of Banelings flooding in. Can the Widowmines get some good shots? They are so far.
This wasn't so bad. I mean, he risked going into that well, and you know what? He took a pretty okay engagement.
I thought that was going to go so much worse for XenoCider with the hesitation to do it, but...
I'm even like looking further into that, where these Mutos are just being so freaking annoying, is that if he had broken down those rocks that I pointed out earlier, he would have had more space to micro in another direction too. I really think those rocks are going to play a bigger part than they might look like at first.
Oh, it's only 4 meters.
Yeah, like luckily.
He can actually unload and probably kill them. I think he realizes that too. But yeah, so this rocks, yeah, if this is where the engagement locations are going to go down instead of the middle part of the map, I agree. Being able to spread in 4 different directions is very, very key to trying to take on Baneling fights like that. But, man, the transition ultras coming up behind this. We got 3-3 finishing up for SortOf. XenoCider is definitely not in the position of power he was last game. And, wow, what the hell, please, oh my god. If any Banelings roll into this base, XenoCider's going to get supply blocked down to like 100 supply. Jesus. He's even got drop supply. Why?
Okay, so I was wondering if the fourth was going to be this base. It makes sense with how XenoCider has been playing this game, and I think this is how TVZ would look if this was an official ladder map. But taking this as a fourth base of the planetary is pretty cool.
I think it's going to heavily come down to who you're playing, though. Oh my god.
Yeah, what race, too.
Oh. Was that Reddit thing where things fit perfectly in other things?
Oh, yeah. You know, I think Timberwolf or whatever had a really odd, like, design over your hatchery if you built it there. Oh, anyways.
Well, I always think back to Deadwing. That circle is off-center for all the bases.
Right, yeah.
And it's
the designs. And you're just like, why? Why would you ever do that? And so far, these maps have fixed that.
that's what we're looking at here. This should make it to the map pool just because things fit in other things.
Going back to the whole dead space thing, that's what I was like, you know, obviously for TVZ it doesn't matter because they're going to mute us most of the time anyways, but versus Protoss, I imagine that's going to be the most annoying thing in the world. Just how much dead space there is to the very bottom, very top of these maps.
Well, it's planetary, as you would expect. I guess this will keep solidifying his point going forward, but it's... I don't know, for as much as I want to say this map is contributing to the X versus Y, XenoCider has been taking weird engagements, both good and bad throughout the course of the game, and sort of, despite having this huge resources loss deficit, just I feel is in such a better place. And again, I think a lot of this just comes from that really early economy, rippling back to this late stage of the game. Oh my god, even a turret coming down, he's built it on creep. Well, before the creep spread, but that's kind of cute to see, as detection will allow him to clean up the tumors.
Oh, by going up this attack path, he is getting rid of the 5th, which is the healthy space it sort of has, but he's also just so far away from his own base, like, escaping is going to be impossible.
Now, he is microing pretty hard on the left side of the map with those medevac drops, and not sure just how well prepared he was for the fight, but, you know, he takes out all the banelings. He's gonna start kiting around with the ultras. That one-of-mine shot, though. That's like when we were watching Morrow in WCS. Oh, that was painful.
Sort of takes a fairly good engagement, a good enough engagement, because look at the supply right now. The bank's still in SortOf's favor as well. His upgrades are a little behind. Looks like he forgot or couldn't afford +3 weapons. He still has 3 carapace for those ultras. 5.
Well, weapons perhaps not such a big deal. I mean, let's be honest, when ultras are hitting for 41, they don't really need to hit for 43 or 44 or even 50. 41's already a ton of damage. Oh, the Mutilates will catch that medevac though. That's a little bit awkward. Xeno is going to float northwards. Oh, but this base has been creeped up.
What's so funny about how this game is being played, right, is that XenoCider probably looks at this map and is like, wow, it's so big. There's so many different, like, it spreads you out. It sort of expands like this. Drops should be really good, right? But so far, drops have been taken down by Muta. She's got a luck or spotting with overlords. The dead spaces we talked about isn't as plentiful as it might seem at first.
Yeah, look at even the medevac
skirting the edge right now.
Yeah, and it still takes a shot from the spore crawler.
Yeah.
The CC is probably gonna die. We have sort of breaking down the rocks over here, and this late game is looking really good for the Zerg player.
Yes, it is. We have Broodlords possibly on the way as well. It is a big map still, so I don't know if Broodlords would be super great, but with the drop spray doing any damage, they'll be okay.
I definitely want to see a PvZ on this map. This map has been interesting for many different aspects, but I love, again, the tile set. This is aesthetically very pleasing to look at, and I don't think we've ever had a map pool that's had one that looks quite like this. It shares some of the designs of Star Station and such, but it's got this very gritty, different feel to it. I like it a lot. Oh, nice Infestor catch in the middle of the map. Almost gets all 4 for free.
He's trying, but the Marauders weren't chasing them.
Yeah, no concussive shells.
Oh yeah, that too. That kind of sucks. A lot of those Marines soaked up a lot of banelings, kind of helpful to keep losing.
Do you think he knows he doesn't have concussive shells? I mean, they are pretty important for dealing with not just catching infestors, but also banelings, having those on the front lines.
Yeah, with how many Marauders you have, it can be surprisingly effective, even if they have 50 banelings, which in this case, with only 24 versus 22 Marauders, actually 24 Marauders versus 24 banelings. Marauder slow might be helpful.
Xeno land your command center, please. Ultras looks like they're gonna kill this one. He's also not repairing
your command center, please.
That's too late. He got on this way too late with the SCVs, so orbital or planetary will go down. Might be able to catch these with the Marauders though. Concussive shell not really helping too much for Ultras, but still, it's 50 minerals, 50 gas. Why not? XenoCider, please.
Definitely. All right, so I think SortOf has gotten away with 5 bases, 5 bases pretty easily. But the 6th bases are not,
I think it's easier to say half the map.
Sure.
Because he has got away with half the map, but fungal growth going down. Now this is really key that he dodges this, because if those fungals land, the ultras are just going to surround and Kaiser Blade everything to death. Creep spreading down here as well, so XenoCider cannot replace that command center. He does actually land one up here to the north finally, but oh man, it's going on a little bit longer than I thought, but this is definitely still, I feel, SortOf's game to lose at this point, just through map control alone, if nothing else.
Yeah, I agree. At this point, too, trying to get an orbital command down is just thinking, oh my god, I really hope it doesn't send any lings over here.
Did that come from the natural? It came from the natural.
Yeah. So that's just desperation. That's hoping and praying, and it's never really going to happen on a good Zerg player. And in fact, this is on a planetary So it's just as good as send 20 lings over there.
It's too bad he could have lifted and maybe saved, but trying to reestablish a base down here to the south. I mean, you mentioned before, sort of, he's got the option for Broodlords. He hasn't gone for them yet. There are no Vikings really in play, so even if it was just 2 or 3 Broodlords to get the Widow Mine soaked up with the free Broodlings, it wouldn't be bad to have at all.
He desperately needs another base.
Yeah. This orbital's burning too. That's not good. I gotta give credit though, sort of this time. I think a lot of this game really came off the back end of those Mutalisks harassing the natural base so badly. I'm gonna straight up say abusively too, because again, this terrain is hard to work with. But that was just nasty for many different reasons, and it really helped excel him here towards the late game. Let him, leapfrog ahead of base while XenoCider's still trying to defend his natural type thing. I mean, it took XenoCider a long time to get on that 4th base, a really long time.
It's so it's like, it seems like it's such a small thing, but the fact that the gas geysers are so far away from this massive dead space, like, it made XenoCider make those missile turrets that weren't helpful because they didn't have high ground vision. And it's like, it happened in like Brood War, and you would have like a barracks lift off, or the engineering bay, because you could lift off engineering bays in Brood War, and to scout that high ground.
How did the Terran lose that technology, by the way, going into Heart of the Swarm? Like, it still has the little feet-see things. Like, it looks like you should be able to lift off. Can
you imagine that? Like, you put him on the wall, and the Baneling bus comes, you're like, oh god, you lift him.
Peace. Well, actually, no, that'll probably be bad, because then the Banelings would get through, right? Like, Scumbag engineering bays.
Oh my god! Well, that just ended the game.
GG. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. SortOf will take game number 2. This will lead us to map number 3, and it's going to be loser's picks. It will be XenoCider's choice to select.